SimWorld presents Around the Table with E and the Fat Man.
What's up, everybody? It's the B.O.B., and I'm here with my man, E. How are you doing today?
Hey, Bob. Doing pretty well. Hopefully you are too. Excited to talk about some of these recruits.
I am too, and I'm doing great. This is Around the Table with E and the Fat Man. That is E. I'm the Fat Man, and this is the podcast where we talk about whatever we want. Commitment Craze has been going strong for a while now. It feels like a while now. It's only been a week. But every day has brought us something new, I think, E.
Usually a few something news.
There you go. Today, though, we want to talk about our favorite landing spots for some of these recruits. And I think there's been some really good ones. I think I will, as usual, E, I will let you go ahead and go first.
Oh, letting me do the honors. Well, thank you, Bob. Well, I've got a couple to talk about today, and wanted to throw a familiar name out there with one of my selections to talk about, but another one, maybe somebody who isn't talked about quite as much. So, starting things off, going to mention Robert McGee, signed with Heartland Zombie Stars. He's a former Indy Stripe, and I had my eye actually this whole offseason. Well, the whole Indy Stripes, I think. Loads of talent on a team that just somehow the pieces didn't add up together. It wasn't that the sum of the parts was a greater than them. Yeah. It was actually somehow they were less. And certainly guys like the Jameses and Johan Novajovic, kind of fit that bill, Jay Luce. But also two kind of reserve bigs for Indy. These guys both played behind Reza Red, the talented youngster Reza Red, but you had both Towns Romanowski and Robert McGee, both Ohioans, by the way, playing about 14, 15 minutes a game, backing them up. And I was excited to see that Robert McGee has actually moved it back home, taking it back to Ohio. He's going to be a Heartland Zombie star next year. And, you look at McGee's numbers, not necessarily that impressive. And to be honest, he actually struggled badly shooting the ball, trying to do anything offensively last year wasn't coming together. But you look a little bit more closely, too, and I like the handles on McGee. Averaged almost an assist a game, which is pretty good for a 6'9" big man. Is a good rebounder down there, has some shot blocking ability. I think if he grows physically and if he grows his game any at all, between what he did last year and what he did this year, he could be one of those important building blocks, for a Heartland Zombie Star team that, otherwise has had a little bit of an up and down off season. Losing Monty Pearson, most notably, I think the top rated recruit in Ohio, decided to take his skills outside of the state. But bringing the big man, 6'9", 6'10", banger down low. He has the Benari James seal of approval. Benari always spoke well of him, still does. So I'm excited to see him take his talents back to the Buckeye State. And, I've done a lot of talking this offseason, too, about everybody's coming home. And Robert McGee, no exception. He's bringing it on back home, crossing the state line once again from Indiana back into Ohio. And I don't think you're going to see him ranked in the top 10. I don't think you're going to talk about him as a breakout star, but I think he's going to be a really solid piece for Heartland this season.
I think, I can't ever say you have a bad choice. You always have a reason for your picks. So I'm going to trust you that Robert McGee's 1.8 points per game and 0.9 assists per game are going to absolutely
4 rebounds.
He did have those 4 rebounds. He's going to absolutely
you extrapolate that over a 32, and that's close to 10 there, Bob. Hey, look, neither Robert McGee nor Towns Romanowski are going to blow you away in terms of the stat line, but look, you called some games last year too. Watching these guys sometimes live in action, both Romanowski and McGee flashed, and then a lot like most of the Indy Stripes team, then they would disappear for 3 or 4 games in a row or just not play or something. It was a strange Stripes season. I don't think you can count everything against these kids for considering how that year went for the Indy squad. But I hear you at the same time too, Bob. But I didn't want to pick a superstar with both my picks. Nobody would argue that McGee meets the definition of that, but solid player, super solid, who I expect to excel back at Heartland.
Well, I think what's really going to help him out there is Benari James being there, Quan Johnson being there. the Hilario. Jeez, I never say their name wrong until now. The Hilario 3,
Uh-huh.
Poncho Hardwick. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that Heartland
There
Zombie
is.
Stars now that I think that it's going to take away some of the focus, and Robert McGee is going to be able to show us what he can do one-on-one. I mean, this is his time.
Yeah.
I don't know if he could have found a more perfect fit than Heartland Zombie Stars, led by former Lakeshore Drive coach and former, known as Oakland at the time, Bay Area Breakers coach Brian Lovelace. We'll see if he also joins Coach Blarty in finding a fourth team this season. Anyways,
Right.
but no, I think it's a good landing spot for him.
I do too, and yeah, I like that you talk about Heartland for a second too. They're pulling together a lot of interesting names from a lot of disparate places. Honcho Hardwick, one of the handful of returners coming back, and yeah, McGee lined up next to him. That's a pretty nice down low combo there. So
good size.
Yeah, one of the teams that certainly struggled last year. No doubt about that. But Heartland Zombie Stars, 10-21 last year. Maybe they can turn that number around and have more like a 20-10 kind of season.
Yeah, don't push it. Anyways, I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna jump over to another 10-21 win, 10-21 team. And I'm gonna throw two. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna throw two into my one. I'm going to go with Africa and the addition of Ethan Letterman, but also the re-addition of Pierre Dupont. Pierre Dupont is such a talented player. He's ranked in the composites at number 28. I don't think that is high enough for him. Just overall at 6'6", 206, I mean, the kid can just flat out play. He averaged 14.4 points a game last season. He was over 600 from the field or over 60% from the field. I just think overall that he's one of the top bigs in all of SimWorld Prep. And with the addition of Ethan Letterman, who is he's probably top 10 3-point shooter in SimWorld Prep. If he is given the green light to go, I mean, Bentley's gone. He's not there to take away anything from anybody. And he had 34 threes last season. I think if Letterman is given the green light to go from three, we could see him be in the top 5, top 3 in three-pointers made next season. I think he has that kind of talent behind the arc. And with Pierre Dupont returning, that's just one of those guys who he joins your team and makes it better no matter what is on your team. And because he has a high motor, he just never gives up. I was actually happy to see Dupont decide to return to Africa to continue what he started last season. And I think that this season's going to be something. They have to with Letterman. I think they're going to put up some decent offensive numbers. I mean, they were ranked 30th last season with 63.4. You can only get two worse than that. I don't think it's going to get any worse for them, though. I don't think it's going to get any worse than them. They have Kula Abdul Rauf, Amir Afua. I think that those are two other. They're returning, but I think they're two good players to also be there with the team. So I think adding Letterman is really going to help this Africa team turn them 10 wins into 11. No, I think the addition of Letterman is going to help Africa get closer to 500 than they are away from it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Ethan Letterman Jr. I thought that the Africa selection for him was an intriguing, but not wholly illogical, and actually even geographically, not that far from his home nation of Israel, Nigeria, where the Africa team is headquartered in Lagos. I like that, but I even like more, Bob, the Pierre Dupont pick that you put in there. I considered naming Pierre my second guy. There's a lot to like about him. If you have to put one knock on Pierre Dupont, it's that he's a little bit undersized. Played 6'6". I mean, he's solid size or weight, sort of body type, 205 pounds. But you'd like to see him a little bit bigger. But that said, he plays well down there, and particularly for the skill set he has. Really good athlete, but he's also a good interior defender, and combines that with some nice offensive creation skills, as you mentioned. Second only to AJ Fabenle on the Africa squad last year, and just a point and a half behind him in terms of scoring. High percentage, can even stretch things out to a three. He took a few threes, splashed one last year even. I did think about naming Dupont as my other landing spot kind of guy. He did flirt with Gulf Coast thought about going back home to Louisiana. He is a Louisiana native, so that wouldn't have been a shock. Would have made a lot of sense. But
I think that addition of Coach Heesh kind of. I think if it wasn't for Coach Heesh, no disrespect, but it's obviously going to sound disrespectful. If Coach Heesh was not the coach of Gulf Coast, I think that Pierre Dupont would be in Gulf Coast right now.
yeah, I could see that too. But hey, it worked out well for Africa.
Yeah, and you
You
had mentioned the size for Dupont. I mean, for 6'6", I mean that's obviously big for a high schooler. But you look at the rest of the team, and
Yeah.
he is not even. He is in the bottom half of height for this team.
Yeah.
I mean, you got 6'6". I mean, that'd be scary walking onto a high school or a prep court and seeing the 6'6"
Sure.
guy. But then you have the 6'11" guy. You got the 6'10". I mean, we got Khalid Ali at 6'10".
Yeah.
You got Abraham Kasongo 6'11".
Hopefully DuPont does not have to play, a true 5 role too much, because you're right, 6'6" is big for high school ball, but here in the SimWorld prep level, best of the best, you tried him out there, he's going to be on most nights 3 or 4 inches smaller than, a Trey Hyman or whoever else he might go up against. So, again, I kind of hope he grows a little bit. Hope his game grows a little bit. Hope that's true of all returning players.
Yeah.
But he is super solid. If you just get the same Pierre Dupont you had last year back, that's a huge addition to re-recruit him and keep him in Africa for one more season.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well,
Yeah.
I was going to say I'll keep the ball in my court, but I'm going to pass it back over to you.
Oh, you want me to take it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I really did consider Pierre Dupont. He was in the mix for my other guy I want to talk about here, but instead I'll take it to somebody else who has taken their talents back overseas, and that is Devin Fields. Devin Fields going back home, a Tokyo, Japan native, going home to was with Beyond the Arch, going home to Asia Pacific this next season. A huge fan of his game. Wasn't an offensive standout necessarily in St. Louis last year, averaging 7 points in just under 20 minutes per game. But definitely showed the kind of ability, showed some long range shooting as well. An offensive creator, a great court vision, great handles. At 6'3", again, if he hasn't grown any in the offseason, just a tall, athletic, lanky point guard out there. I expect his scoring ability to improve over his next SimWorld season as well. Wouldn't surprise me if we saw that 7 points per game average edge up more toward 13, 14, doubling where he was at in season 1. But, super athletic kid, kind of following my theme. I went into this offseason kind of saying and spreading the gospel of everybody's going to go back home. And it hasn't been true. Not everybody has. But a lot of people have stuck close to home or have gone back home. No bigger example, I don't think, than Devin Fields, going back to Japan, going back to APAC, and I expect him to make a huge impact on that squad, APAC, which, again, is another one. In some ways had a little bit of a surprising season last year, ended up 16-15, winning record, not so bad there, but looking to take a level up, step up a level, and I think Devin Fields is the kind of player that can take you there. So I really love that addition for them.
Yeah, he was one of mine. I was going to definitely go with Devin Fields on that one. I mean, I will disagree with one thing that you said, that no bigger addition going home than him. I don't think any bigger addition of going home is bigger than Arthur Lattimore going home to Texas. Yeah. But if we're talking about distance, then I don't think there is a bigger.
Right.
But no, Devin Fields. I mean, I think he did only average, we say, only 7.1 points a game last season, 4.7 assists. But still, I think that he showed the talent. He wasn't given the keys, and he didn't need to have the keys. I mean, he was with Beyond the Arch, correct?
Yes, that's right.
When you're with Beyond the Arch, at least last season, I mean, you have Tyson Simpson. Who else are you going to try and even pretend to get involved in that offense? I mean, Tyson Simpson averaged 20.1 points. He almost averaged a double-double. I mean, they were feeding Tyson Simpson that ball. It was either win through Tyson Simpson or lose when he decides not to have a great game, which happened a couple times last season. But Devin Fields returning to Asia Pacific, I believe that him, the addition of Le'Veon Fields, I mean, Kai Newby they still have a good bit of their core. I would like to see. I don't know if he committed. I can't remember off the top of my head if Stephen George committed anywhere yet. I would like to see Stephen George return if he hasn't committed somewhere else. Because just in the race to one last season, George and Deng really, they showed something last season down low. Like they really took over in the race to one. And I think that the addition of Devin Fields, getting a little extra offense in there with Kai Newby, JD Reyes is still there. His brother, cousin, I can't remember how they were related, but they had the same. Probably not related at all because Coach Reyes was the coach, and there was no relation. So, only having one of the Reyes return is a little hurtful for them, I guess. But the addition of Devin Fields is not gonna. It's that sting isn't going to be there for very long. I mean, you got Victor Soto still. I mean, this SimWorld Asia Pacific team, if Coach Shiro Lee can build off of the run that they had in the race to one last season, I mean, this SimWorld Asia Pacific team can be scary. I mean, they were still 18-16 last season. They did have a winning record, which heading into the race to one, they were the team that almost everybody, I had a little bit of faith in them. I remember our conversations, Eric. You thought that they would be the last ones out, and I had faith in them. I wanted to have faith in them. I'm not going to pretend like I really thought they were going to win out and make it to the race to one. But I mean, with the talent that they're bringing in, they should be able to at least remain status quo. But they really turned it on at the end of the season, and if they can keep that going for a whole season, I mean, I do think we have another 20-win team here. I think that Asia Pacific can potentially still be the top international team, and I think
the Stephen George. Yeah, I was just going to add in, Bob, because you were talking about the Stephen George, potential, addition there or re-edition there. He is still out on the market, and that could be very, very huge. Will be huge for somebody.
Huge.
Because physically, because he is, yes. Now, he's a little bit raw. I always bring that up when I talk about Stephen George, but in my mind, that just kind of shows what kind of a ceiling he has. He can already do what he does right now just on height and raw athletic ability.
Yeah.
So, again, he should just get better too. And that's another interesting landing spot. But I appreciate the fact that we are both admirers of Pierre DuPont and Devin Fields. And I also love the fact that the international game is just getting stronger and stronger at the SimWorld prep level all the time, too.
Absolutely, because that's key. It is key for the international kids to be able to have their teams out there, because you don't want to run into a situation where you have to, in high school, you shouldn't have to market yourself. And when you have a player like out in the Middle East, Morbauskis, I mean, he really, if it wasn't for him marketing himself and really being vocal last season, we might not know who he was. Shockingly, he did not enter the recruiting pool. He did not enter his name into leaving Middle East. He's still there. I'm not sure what he was thinking, but I'm thinking he might be. Look, if he's going to be the main guy, he's going to be the guy. So maybe he's going to look at it as wins. While they're great, wins aren't the only thing that's going to get him to a big college or to the G League. It's you go out there and you produce, which 12.1 points a game. He was hitting over 40%. He made 18 threes. He does a little bit of everything out there. As long as he continues to produce on the court, the 4-27 record isn't really going to matter at the end of the day, because people will be able to look at, most people will be able to look at the entirety of the team and go, you know what? That really wasn't his fault that they only won 4 games, because you can't do it alone. I don't know. I don't really know where I was going on with that, but we were talking about the international. I was like, I don't know what I think I just wanted to get more Morbauskis' name out there, because it's been a while since we've really talked about him. But I'm going to swing back to my next one, last one, and I assume that the player is going to be shocked, and I'm sure the player will be shocked that I picked him, but I have to go with Corey Yams to H-Town Hoopers.
Okay.
For me, you look at what Coach Bilardi was able to do in the Ground Zero season with no name bigs, and that was no name bigs that ended up with their own nicknames by halfway through the season. SJO and CK. Gee, I almost said CKC. That would have been a scary team. Can you imagine Che King, Jai Edge, CKC, Chance Melton Jones, and
there.
Steven? Yeah, CMJ, SJO. What Bilardi was able to do with bigs, I think Corey Yams landed in the best spot that he could. I think that when it comes to developing bigs specifically, if you want to go somewhere to the next level or at the next level, then Coach Bilardi is who you want to play for if you're a big. There's obviously other coaches that are good, but just with his track record, again, you took two no names in SJO and CMJ and you turned them into household names. And I mean, you can say whatever you want, make the jokes. I make the jokes all the time about this being his, I don't know, what is this his 14th team? I can't remember. But for Coach Bilardi, not Corey Yams. So
yeah,
we can make those jokes all the time, but
getting up there at least.
He is able to develop talent at the big position, power forward, center, and I think that that addition of Corey Yams, one, they have to replace the loss, and this is, I am not putting this pressure on Corey Yams because it's a lot of pressure. They have to replace Aaron Payne, and the talent that he had on the defensive side of the ball was tremendous. I'm not saying Corey Yams can't be a great defender, but there was almost, I would say, what do we have? Big wise, you got Trey Hyman. When you mentioned defensive bigs, Trey Hyman, Victor Silgauskas, Derek Long, and Aaron Payne immediately come to mind.
Particularly with the shot blocking with those crew. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like you were not going to score on those guys unless they were just wondering, they were looking to see what they were going to eat after, and they forgot that they were playing a game or something. They're like, oh, yeah, there's some hot dogs over there. Oh, man, I just let this guy run by me on accident. Sorry. But no, those were to me, when I think of defensive bigs, those are the top four. So it's huge, huge loss for H-Town. But again, I think that Bilardi is going to be able to put Corey Yams in position a lot better than he was able to be put in at Showtime last season to take that next step and really, I guess, put keep H-Town on the map and maybe keep them from there. They had a little bit of a collapse last season. Them and Lone Star both had a little collapse there after starting the season so well. We were talking about how Texas was better than California, and then all of a sudden they started losing, and we had to reel that back a little bit. So
we did.
I do think Corey Yams to H-Town. I like that a lot for Corey Yams, and I think that it's going to be very beneficial to him when the season's over with.
And it's another homecoming. My theme and my prediction coming true, Bob. They're all coming home. Everybody coming home.
I'm coming home. But yeah, so we got Devin Fields. We got Pierre DuPont, Ethan Letterman, all these guys. I mean, they're all. I just think that I hate seeing kids move around so much, and I hope that next season for SimWorld Prep, we're going to have a limit on that. But I think that a lot of these kids, all these kids that we mentioned today, made business decisions for their futures that are really going to pay off for them. At least I hope it's going to pay off for them.
Yep. We got a lot of player movement capability right now, and people are taking advantage of it. And while it's there, you can't blame them.
Absolutely. Well, E, I appreciate you as always. Do you have any final words for the people?
No, I just hope everybody out there has a very good fall weekend, concluding their weekend here. And don't forget that lots more commitment, lots more craze coming this next week in SimWorld.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for listening so much, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend.